doing all those things. Hi, hello, everybody. Welcome to our first honestly, chatty live stream in a very, very long time. I normally live stream and don't talk. I just live stream and work and screen share, but I've been working on something and I'm finally ready to show it and talk about it and talk through kind of the thought process behind the automations, why I built this quiz. So if you are those watching on live form, I am streaming from my phone. I'm testing whether or not which live stream works better. Jesse has way more success live streaming vertically from his phone on YouTube. And he was like, look, you got to test it. So if you are, though, watching on the vertical, on like if you're somehow you got a hold of this live on the vertical screen, go over to my long form on my channel, so that way you can see all this. Okay. Hi, hello to my favorite people, probably checking in from LinkedIn or Twitter or maybe YouTube. I don't know. I never have success on YouTube Live. But tonight, I am finally doing a chatty live stream. It has been a minute, y'all. It has been a minute since we have been here. But I had some time and I finally finished a very long, outstanding project that I have been working on for my business for a while. And I wanted to walk you through how I've built it, what my thought processes were, all of those things. So make sure if you can hear me in the chat, you let me know in the chat, or if you can hear my audio, let me know in the chat if you are having issues or it sounds like shit. Besides my allergies, don't say that I sound like shit unless it's my microphone. Got it? Cool. Okay, so why are we here? I have a brand new lead magnet in my business that technically has been live for maybe a month and a half or so, but it hasn't been done. I haven't really figured out how I want to maximize on this lead magnet. I just knew that I wanted to build it. So, for context, I have had a lead magnet in my business. It's been my business ecosystem workbook. I give it to all of my clients. I've been giving it away for free for about a year, probably. It's been available on my site to download. And I've had over 500 people download this workbook just by seeing the link. Maybe you saw it at the end of a video, but I'm really not promoting the workbook, really. And the whole intention of this workbook really was to drive leads to Systems OS, which is my DIY bundle. It kind of walks you through how to basically audit your customer journey, redo all of your workflows, and then there's like some sample templates in there if you need help kind of getting off the ground with Notion, Tally, Zapier, etc. However, this is all well and good, but there's never been, I feel like, like the workbook's great. Obviously it converts, it does really well. I think right now it's converting at about 72%, which is phenomenal. And that conversion is people visiting the page, entering their email, and downloading it. Okay. From there, people downloading the workbook and then purchasing Systems OS is sitting at about 22% right now, which is great because when you download the workbook, it immediately has you, or it gives you like a limited 50% off buying Systems OS. Okay. So that's, I think, why that converts really well. However, converting the workbook into one-on-one offers, services, consulting, etc., and or people who buy Systems OS and then want to work with me one-on-one is very few and far between. And what I'm realizing is that the workbook is great to sell Systems OS because it's technically stage one of what you do in Systems OS, right? So kind of the psychology behind that is that you are getting a piece of it for free, right? Whether you buy it or not, you are getting a huge element of that for free. And so with that, there's really just like a big disconnect. I feel like there's always been a disconnect of, do I keep selling the DIY? Do I fix the entire funnel and sell consulting or sell full implementation? And so with that, I was like, man, I feel like the workbook, one, could be better in terms of like, could I market it more? Could I do more with it? I really want to put together like a VSL style, sorry, I keep hitting the mic, like a VSL style video on the workbook page, and maybe create a secondary funnel that drives leads. Okay, that's fine. It works. It is what it is. We're not talking about that today. But as y'all know, I am obsessed with Caleb Hammer. Okay, so welcome to a little bit of a personal detail in my life. I am obsessed with Caleb Hammer. I watch every single video. Like, I'm always like first 2 hours that it drops. And what I really love is he has a quiz, a financial audit quiz. If you don't know who Caleb Hammer is, let me just give you backstory. He calls himself the Jerry Springer of finance. Okay, if you are in my YouTube group here in Austin, all I talk about is Caleb Hammer, and I'm so sorry if you're watching this now, but I really think that his lead magnet is brilliant because not only can, anyone take it on his website, it's basically this quiz that like helps you see what your financial standing is, right? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad are your finances basically. And then on his show, on Financial Audit, on his YouTube channel, he asks people basically like, what's your score? And uses that as an anchor to then work on budget and talk about different things and get an idea of like where he can support them and help, right? And so from watching literally 3 videos a week, because he posts Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm constantly hearing about this quiz. And so I went through it, I took the quiz, and I'm like, man, this actually is a really solid lead magnet because of the way he incorporates it into different areas of his business. And that is something that okay, y'all, pre-K pause. I am also, for those who are just tapping into this, I am also live streaming from my phone. I'm doing a test of like vertical YouTube versus horizontal, and the comments on this vertical are unhinged. Anyway, I'm not even gonna look at that. My phone doesn't exist. So thinking about the quiz, I have never had a quiz lead magnet on my website ever. I have never explored what a quiz could look like. I have never even been like, a quiz is for me. Like, not that I judge people who have quizzes, but I guess just did not, and this is so stupid to say out loud because I'm a data girly, but like, I just never really considered a quiz to be a solid lead magnet. Okay. So with that, I started thinking about, how could I build in a lead magnet for my business that will give me a better understanding of where people are at coming to my website, interacting with my content, to really understand like how I can support them. And you guys know, those of you watching probably from LinkedIn, know more than anybody that I have really struggled with, y'all, the dogs are crazy. I have really struggled with the balance of the high ticket clients versus people who just need a little bit of help versus people who can't necessarily afford to work with me, right? That has been a huge struggle that I have always faced in my business for 6 years now. And when I really started thinking about this quiz, it was like, man, will this really give me the data that I need? And to answer your question, yes, it has, and it does. And so I launched the Ops Health Score. I put a little QR code up in the top of the screen. Feel free to scan it, and that'll take you to the page where this quiz is. It's free. You don't even have to like give me your email to get the results if you don't want to. But I wanted to talk through kind of my reasoning behind it, how I've built this out, all of that good stuff. So, that being said, I knew that I wanted to very specifically filter people by the type of business that they were. And I'm not talking about like production versus consulting versus creative, but very seriously solopreneur / small freelancer versus a quote unquote like regular team. And what I'm considering a regular team is not a freelancer who has a couple retainer contractors, that they're regularly working with, but genuinely speaking, someone who is paying people as employees. That is considered a regular team. So anybody two and up, and then enterprise as well. So I built this quiz, and I'm going to, let me open it in screen share so you guys can see. I built this quiz on Paperform, and if you are following Paperform, then chances are, where's my screen share? Chances are that I just did a video with them about this, which is really exciting. Why is this background so gross? Y'all, I started a new restream and did not remember that I need to redo all of my design. Okay, so I obviously built this in Paperform. You guys know I'm a Paperform expert. I believe in the product so strongly that I will never ever leave. I have not tested really any other form tool for my business in the last 6 years. Like I literally found Paperform on a Google search because the only form tool I knew of back then was Typeform, and I hated Typeform. And so I have been on Paperform literally for years at this point. But what I really like about them, and this is not sponsored by any means, but hashtag pay me, I really like their scoring feature, which is why building a quiz in Paperform made total sense when I decided to do this. So with that, let me see. I just want to see if I can make this bigger for you guys. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. So like I mentioned, this quiz is built out basically by type of business. So what I mean by that is, are they a solopreneur? Are they a team? Or are they enterprise? And that is the first piece of this quiz, is asking that, because the rest of the questions are conditionally routed to the type of business that they are. So I ask in the first thing, what type of business are you, right? So this is like education, consulting, nonprofit, tech, SaaS, etc. But then the team size is what dictates what questions that they get. So from there, they go through about 10 questions based on the type of business that they are. And it really gives me the questions that I developed, and I use ChatGPT to do this. I basically plugged in both of my offers. So my assessment offer, which is kind of my bread and butter at this point, where I'm auditing an entire business, redoing customer journey maps, auditing like processes and tech stack and all of that, and reworking everything in order to streamline and find gaps and figure out where we can automate, where we can delegate, all of that good stuff. And so everything that I do, not only in my assessments, but also in my full scale refinement, which is like my overarching big offer, where I come in really between like a COO and a CTO and hold your hand and do everything. So that's not just the audit, but it's also the implementation. So I plugged all of that into ChatGPT, which, if you're also following me on Twitter and LinkedIn, you know that I built like a business coach with ChatGPT. And so I already had everything I needed in order for ChatGPT to like really know the questions to ask. And so all of these are dictated for me to fully understand the exact pain point and friction and issue that my potential clients, I should say, are having. So if we look at some of these questions, we can go through both groups. That's fine. So if we think about solo/freelancers, we're thinking about, how do we manage client projects? How often are we optimizing workflows? How custom are our processes? That's something that I find really interesting, that you can really tell how long someone's been in business by how willing they are to automate and universalize processes. Even if it's not everything in the process, but it's enough to say, hey, some shit's got to change. Like, our team is stressed out. I am stressed out. I don't want to hire those types of things. And so that's always a really good anchor question. What I found in people's data that have done the quiz already. How are we getting client feedback? That is a big one, y'all. You guys know, I joke about this a lot, but like, I've become the offboarding girl, and I wish I could come up with like a funnier tagline for this, but so many people not only taking this quiz, but every single client that I've worked with over the last 6 years, no one has an offboarding process. And it's so wild to me. Like there's just no official handoff. There's no, signing off on deliverables, grabbing a testimonial while you still have the client's attention. And so that is also a very interesting question. And I ask that on both sides of this quiz. How do you prioritize balancing client relationships? How many tools are you currently using? Do you feel like the tools actually make things easier? And then are you confident in technology? So Digital Gap, and I'm not even talking AI, right? We're not even talking how do you prompt, I don't care about AI. Genuinely speaking, where is your tech knowledge? Because that's going to give me a frame and a basis for how do I train you? One, but also selfishly, is there room for me to potentially pitch retainer, right? Because if you are not as tech confident, are you even going to maintain what we build together, right? That's a very valid question. So then moving into the team questions. So how do you manage and track work in your team? Have you documented your processes? Are they accessible? How do you ensure consistency in client workflows? That's a huge thing. How does your team stay aligned on priorities? How do you ensure your clients feel valued? How often do you gather feedback from not only your clients, but your team, right? Does everyone feel like they have equal buy-in? Can they share feedback to improve processes? Do your teams support collaboration? And we're not just talking like a Slack channel, right? Slack is collaborative, but like not really. So thinking about this, right? So a great example, I worked with a skincare brand not too long ago, and this is actually a very for lack of a better word, consistent problem that I see, especially in production and marketing teams, is handing off between phases of a project. There's always friction. Every single client that I have ever worked with, there's friction. And so, for instance, like that skincare brand I worked with, they needed a way to hand off between copy to design to legal without like things getting dragged out. And so, like, a very easy way to do that is using Notion automations, if you are in Notion, to auto tag the person when the status changes and moving into the next thing. Very easy thing to do. We're also asking, how secure is your client's data? A lot of people do not take into consideration that all of these SaaS tools, for the most part, are on the AWS server. And so if the AWS servers crash, your stuff gets hacked, somebody leaves the team and they're the only one with login access. Like, how are we actually backing things up, tracking security, maintaining all of our records in a very safe and smart way. And then managing time zones, async comms, and then also how does your team stay aligned on company goals? I think is very, very important. And then enterprise, we won't go through enterprise because I don't think anybody watching is probably enterprise, but if you are, take my quiz, scan the QR code literally right here and take it. And then lastly, I want to know, how do you actually prefer to fix these issues, right? So yes, you took this quiz. It's great. It's awesome. But how do you want me to help you, right? I think giving people the power to say, and these are the actual options that I ask, is, you can't see it on the screen, but it's fine. I want to handle it internally. So keep in mind that this specific outside of the team question, this is the answer that then dictates the rest of the funnel. So just keep that in mind. So the first option is I want to handle it internally. The second option is I prefer expert guidance to ensure it's done right. And then third is I'm actually not sure what I want. So the first option, when they say they want it to handle internally, that's immediate, goes to Systems OS. It's a DIY option, right? I'm not going to pitch you a 7K offer if you want to do it internally. I mean, maybe, but from everything I've seen of the people that have already taken this, they are not a fit for my 7K offer. And so that is why I built the funnel the way I did today. The next one, prefer expert guidance. We'll walk through how I'm handling that in a second. And then I'm not sure basically pitches them a free call instead of immediately pitching an offer, to kind of see like what actually will work. And then obviously name and email to get your results. Now, the cool thing about Paperform is that after they submit it, there's a couple different things that happens. The first is that I have built using their email. It's fine the way that it's cut off. You can send customized emails in Paperform to basically like give details, give summaries of their answers, all of those things. Oh, hold on. Let's backtrack. Let's talk about the scoring. So each time they answer the question, there's a scale of 1 to 5, 1 to 4, 1 to 4, based on which answer that they select. And then each of those get calculated. So if they answer the first option, it's a number 1. Second option, it's 2 points, 3 points, etc. So that all calculates and it's out of 50. So all of the conditional routing that then happens from the scoring depends, or rather is dictated by which email that they get first and what happens after, okay? So if they are a scale of 35 points and up, they're considered actually pretty solid. That really all that they probably need is a consulting hour. They need a little bit of hand-holding. They probably don't need like a full-scale project. And then anything from 24 to 34, I am considering like middle. And so that is basically people who need my assessment. And then anything below 24, so 23 and below, are the low, who probably need the entire thing. But remember, if they picked the DIY option, doesn't matter what their score is, it immediately pushes them to Systems OS. And then if they are doing well, so there are multiple emails here that you can see. So some of the conditions here are if they are above 35 points and they said that they want expert help, it immediately goes to a paid call. If they are unsure, it goes to a free call, and vice versa down the line, okay? So the cool thing with Paperform is that these emails can also be conditionally routed. So you can see here I have multiple emails, and if I open them up, even though it's cut off, it's fine. We can open up the configure logic, and you can see if it's more than 35 and they want expert guidance, send this email. So that's the first step of immediate interaction, immediate attention, and also utilizing Paperform's success pages and dynamic pages. I'm actually gonna let me change my screen share for a second so you guys can see this. So there's also different success pages based on their score. So they see this first, but also at the same time, they're getting the email immediately. And so if we open up, for instance, buying Systems OS, it's very simple. Your operations need a reset. Let's fix it. Your score was utilizing their field fit, their field kind of like autofill, if you will. It gives some details, all that good stuff, and then goes on their way. Now, the next piece of this is moving into, and let me open up the page in Notion and hide people's emails. The next step of this is utilizing the webhooks in Paperform. So we want basically to be pushing that content, right? Let me change my screen share. So I actually know, like, yeah, it's great that I can get an email and say, oh, so-and-so took the quiz. Great, awesome. But what are we actually doing after that so that we get, I don't know why it's not sharing the full thing, but hopefully you can see this. So basically we want to be taking action internally, right? We don't just want this quiz to be sitting here and like, yeah, it's going into an email funnel in Flowdesk, which we'll get into in a second. But I want to be interacting with the data and know where do my chances lie of converting people who are taking this quiz. So the database that I built within Notion has 4 different views. First is going to be solos, regulars, enterprise, and then obviously an all. And then what I did is that this is dumping into, let me hide, not that anyone really, oh, I can't hide it. Not that anyone put really their last name, but what it's doing is it's pulling in all of the data and it's filtered by, if they're a solopreneur, these are the questions I want to see, if they are team, etc. But what I did is dumping this in here. And then I wrote a formula that then immediately tells me what type of lead this is, right? So these are DIY leads. So based on their answers, it automatically tags it as a DIY lead to basically say like, hey, don't bother with these. It tells me their score. And then I wrote this, it's basically a concat, but honestly, it was like a very detailed formula, but it basically summarizes all of their answers into one solid block. And so this is helpful because people who are not a DIY lead, but are a mid warm or mid hot, warm meaning they're unsure of the type of help they want, hot meaning that they said that they wanted expert opinion. So you can see here, they said they wanted expert guidance. We have the summary. Now, let me stop screen sharing for 1 second just so I don't show you a million people's data. But the next thing from this, and I'll show you in a second. Why is this screen sharing? Here, we'll just put it on paper form for a second. So the next thing is that if they are medium or warm, they are then getting added to my sales pipeline. And so what this looks like, and I will open up one, but let me just hide emails. Oh, always hide here. Okay, so there we go. All right, let me change the screen share back. So this way I can then follow along and say, oh, hey, this person took my quiz. They are considered a warm or a hot lead. Here's all the data that I need. And you can see these are kind of my tags in Notion for my sales pipeline. So like inbound, outbound, scoping call, all that good stuff. But then on here, anybody who takes the quiz just gets tagged as the quiz. So that way I can kind of see at all times how many people are technically entering my pipeline, the count, and then what is the conversion once they actually truly enter the pipeline, which is with a scoping call or becoming an active client. So if we look at this here, the cool thing, again, we've talked about this several times, I'm obsessed with customized layouts in Notion. I have never loved data visualization more since they rolled this out. Now, if I could just get some heat maps, baby, I will be very happy. But you can see that I am auto plugging in the industry that they said, their team size, all of that good stuff. But I built a specific layout or section in here for the data that comes from the quiz. So what was their score? What did they want? Relationally linking it. And then it pulls in the roll-ups of what was their calculation for their score and then that summary. So that way, when I'm getting on a sales call with them, I can, or reaching out, right? If I'm emailing them one off, I can specifically speak to problems that they listed in this quiz. So that way it's kind of like the psychology, there's different types of content. One of them, and it's always stuck with me, from Jess Jordana, who owns the Promptlet shop. I've been obsessed with her for like 4 or 5 years now. She probably doesn't even know I exist, but I love her business. I love everything that she does. And one of the ways she talks about copy is that one of the ways to help convert is like this idea of the way you're writing makes people feel like you're inside their head. And that is what part of my goal with building this quiz is that I don't always have to ask questions to understand. I can already know pain points and frictions going into scoping calls, going into sales calls, to say, hey, you mentioned that you really struggle to keep everything organized. What would be really helpful is to lock down where you keep your information, what kind of information are you actually collecting, and why is it so hard to keep organized, right? This can really help drive bigger conversations. And so this is why I built that, which is really, really helpful. So that is that. Now the next thing, and I'm just gonna, haven't looked at the chat in a while. Okay. So the next thing from there is actually creating some kind of follow-up funnel. Now, I have never in my life had success with sales funnels. Let me change this real fast. I have never had success with funnels ever. It is something that I don't really understand why I'm not good at it. I have tried everything under the sun to be good at an email funnel and convert an email funnel. And those of you who have had conversations with me about this, you know that like I have never made money on my email list ever. I've talked about this at length with the local newsletter meetup. And I also have had calls with different email people, and it's like I just can't convert my email list, which is so odd. And that's also too why I wanted to build this data out the way that I did and follow up with people more personally immediately, right? Like the one and done email, it needs to be as good as it possibly can, but I also need access to people's content. So when leads are slow, or I get somebody who takes this quiz who like just are stand out, in terms of the content that they are, or the insight that they're willing to share rather by taking this quiz and doing the data, I need it at my fingertips because I can't rely on a funnel to convert people. And one of the things that I am working on, and I'm going to shout out Andrew Ellis right now, him and I are working on a trailer VSL for my assessments offer. And so I really feel like that's going to level up everything and also add more value to people going through the funnel because they can visually see things. They can, it's not just reading an email, right? Not just, you're reading a sales email. And so all that to say, I still wanted to test out what a funnel could be. And so for lack of a better word, I relied on ChatGPT for this. I wanted something quick and spunky that stood out, that really was like low level, low touch running through it, so I could collect data on when people were exiting the funnel. Were they clicking links? Like this is really, really much an A and B test for me to see, do I even keep doing funnels? Do I do an immediate redirect to a video? Obviously in the quiz itself, I'm doing these like one-off redirect pages, but my goal in the next kind of quarter is to get a customized video for every output of this quiz that they can watch immediately when they get to that page, right? And then those who are warm redirect and can watch like the official video for my assessments offer, sign on, all that good stuff. So this funnel, and let me make sure I'm not showing any emails. There are two funnels actually for this. The first is people who, based on their score and what they said, they go through a one-on-one funnel. And then people who said they wanted DIY, there's a secondary for it. And let me just check the chat real fast. Hey, Tony, thank you so much. So good to see you here. I think you were in the live stream the other day, so it's good to see you again. Okay, so for context, for those who don't know, I use Flowdesk. I will not leave. I love everything that Rebecca and Martha have built. I've been on the platform for 6 years now, and I'm not leaving. I've had several internet fights about it, and you will not change my mind. So, okay. So like I said, I then built two funnels for the work. So let's open up, yeah, we can pause it. Open up the one-on-one work so you guys can see. Now it's 4 emails. It's technically 3. And then the 4th one's like, okay, cool. Just like ignore me kind of thing. So when they go into the funnel, they are, and this is built in Zapier, if I didn't say that. Paperform does not have a native webhook with Flowdesk, and so I had to use Zapier, obviously, to push people into these segments. So they get that first email in Paperform, and then the Zap waits 2 days before it adds them here because I wanted to check if they actually need to be added to the funnel, right? So the first email is very simple. It literally is like 3 sentences. And basically every email pushes people to book a call with me, a free call. And from there, then it goes through blah, blah, blah. If they're not in it, blah, blah, blah. And then the last email is a last ditch effort, basically to get them into another funnel, which is like, and this one's kind of funny. I was ChatGPT knows me so well, y'all. So let me zoom in so you can so you can see. How do I don't know how you get rid of the side banner. Hopefully you can read this, but it basically says, hey, totally get it. Maybe now's not the right time to let someone peek under your hood. But here's the deal. If you're still dealing with messy processes, clunky tools, and dropped balls, it won't fix itself. At the very least, grab my workbook so you can pinpoint the problem and start making real progress. So that's kind of last ditch effort to get people to take action. And, you know, some people just may not be ready to talk process, and I totally understand that, fixing their systems and all that good stuff, but I still want to be providing value. And so that really is fights. Tony, I don't know what you mean by fights, ? So that is that funnel. And then from there, the Systems OS one basically sells Systems OS, and it ends actually with the same last email that's like, yo, if you don't want to buy this, that's fine, but here's like the first piece for free, which is literally the sales funnel for Systems OS to get people to buy it. Now, those of you who remember when I built Systems OS, I built a immediate upsell that gives a one-time 50% discount on Systems OS. So instead of paying $200, you pay $100. I incorporated that into this funnel as well. So all that to say, right now, we've been on for like 30 minutes, which is fine. Let me change my screen back. All that to say, since where did my screen go? I'm working off my teleprompter today, guys, and this is just not the vibe. It's very hard because like half of all of the like buttons are gone on Restream. Anyway, so since I implemented this quiz, I'm going to tell you guys, I have had 23 people go through the quiz, and the average, I want to read this to you because I think the data is so fascinating. I've had 23 people go through it. Not a single person that has gone through it has scored over 33 points, which is crazy. The average score, I'm going to sum it right now. I don't want to sum, I want to average. The average score out of 50 is 29.29 out of 50 for the rate in which people are scoring on this, which is wild. Oh, Tony, yeah, I've had internet fights, over Flowdesk. So people have been trying to get me to leave Flowdesk for, I think, 2 years now. I've had basically every founder of every platform fighting in my DMs, which I think is really funny. And I just won't leave. I tried Beehive. I am working on a video about that as a total side note of like shiny object syndrome in SaaS. So if you want to see that, leave a comment or like this video or something to let me know. But yeah, people, I don't get the hate towards Flowdesk. Like, it's so simple. You pay a one flat fee. You don't pay like per amount of subscribers, nothing. Like, I'm grandfathered in at $19 a month, guys. Like, I'm never going to leave. Okay. I get 50% off for a lifetime. So for $38 a month, doesn't matter how big your list is, none of that. The only downside is like, you can't do UTM tracking. Basically, that's like the only feature that I wish I had. I'm fine. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not making a business over my newsletter. So happy to talk more about that if you're interested. So back to quiz numbers. So looking at the data, and like I said, I launched this quiz about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. I wonder if Paperform can tell me. Oh, I can look. Well, I don't know. I think I basically launched it around February 1st, so 2 months ago, because the first person to go through the quiz, I had launched it like the day before. So, okay. I'm so sorry, guys. My allergies are kicking my butt. So average score, 29 out of 50, which is crazy. The average option, this is also why it's like, this is why I wanted to focus on this funnel today, because out of those people, more than, and I'm looking at everybody, more than four, how many? 11 people out of 23 said that they want to handle it internally, which I think is interesting because I have not had any direct sales to Systems West from this. And then 4 people said that they wanted expert guidance, and one of those ended up signing on to work with me one-on-one. And that doesn't really count though, because that client bought Systems OS, did a call with me, ended up hiring me for an audit, and took this quiz like during all of that. So like that doesn't really count because we were already working together. But all that to say, really interesting data. And then I want to go through on the solos. Let me pull the solo data. To kind of see like the average. I want to give you guys like the average answer. So, if you're like, man, my systems suck and I'm afraid to admit it, just know that like you're not alone in this. So the majority of people said that they have a fully custom process for every single client. So if you think like, let's just think about that data point completely on its own. And I talked about this at the beginning. You guys know, like, you couldn't pay me to write a custom proposal or do custom onboarding, but I do understand that there are elements of that do have to be custom, right? Whether it's scope written out in a contract, whether it is, custom to every offer. Like I have that in my business, right? Custom to each offer. But to fully, like the answer literally is fully custom. Each client receives a completely unique process tailored to their needs. When we think about the data that goes into operations, the fact that teams and solos alike are spending over 30% of their work week doing repetitive tasks, literally this question proves my point, that data point is real. And it's so wild to me that we aren't necessarily aware of how much time this stuff is taking. I put out a video. When was that Paperform video? Probably, I was at the old apartment and my office was still painted black. So probably 3 years ago, I did a video about my onboarding process in Notion and Paperform and like how they all work together, and how I went from it taking me 7 hours to onboard a client to literally 30 seconds by clicking a button and changing the status in Notion. Like it's all automated now. And obviously there's still elements that are custom, but they're plugged into that automation, right? And so like even thinking about that and posting that video, like I had no idea how much time I was spending per client to onboard them until I made a specific video walking through the pre and the post. And so that is really fascinating to always be validated on data. It just really is. The next thing is, the next question is, how do you ensure your clients feel informed and supported during their project? Over 50% said, I hope clients can check progress through the tool or platform I use. That's crazy. And you know what? That then further validates if y'all remember when I went viral because I said that I'm happy to take a 15-minute phone call, and y'all lost your damn minds. I think this is really interesting that is how people are choosing to run their business. I am a judgy little girl, and I'm going to say I think that that's really fascinating because most clients don't want a client portal. And I'm going to scream that to the top of the pyramids. Clients do not want a client portal. They are not checking it. And so if you think that clients are checking through this, unless they are actively engaging with you, they're not checking the progress. They're not doing that. So that's really interesting. Let's see. Process for gathering client feedback. Most people said I have informal conversations with clients, but I mean, that's fine. But when? That's literally my question to you is if you're having informal conversations with clients, literally that is the option. What does that look like? Are you missing an opportunity to collect feedback, to collect testimonials? Are you getting the actual feedback you need, whether you think you need it or not? Because informal conversations doesn't mean you're sitting here with like your 4-question little list saying, hey, these are the things I need to know. You're just hearing the good stuff and thinking everything's good, and then you don't need to tailor your systems. And it's like, oh my God, why are people unhappy? And it's like, well, maybe you should look at your systems and your data. How do you prioritize balancing client relationships with managing your workload? Pretty much everyone said I struggle to balance both, which valid. And that's because you're having informal conversations with your clients. Also to that, people also, the second like follow-up option was I only ask for feedback if something's wrong. So that's why you're having problems balancing. Everybody pretty much said on tools that they're currently using to manage everything. They have a couple of tools that work well together. Sure. Everyone thinks that they do until they realize that there's better tools on the market. Because then the second question is, do you feel like you have the tools you need to manage your clients easily? Here you go. So the first question is, how many tools do you use to manage your clients? A few tools that work well together is the main answer. But then the answer on the next question, do you feel like you have the tools? Every single person that has answered this quiz selected, not really, I struggle to keep everything organized. So do they work well together, or are you struggling to keep things organized? Tell me, I would love to know. And then pretty much everyone answered that they are confident in using technology, which is great. And that question, I mean, I know I talked about it a little bit earlier, but I've been playing around with the idea of like, do I do some workshops? What kind of like live streams could I do? Education kind of content to help get people to champion tech and ops internally. Not that I don't want the work, but I think after the handoff, I have seen, especially on the solopreneur side, guys, is like a lot. And this is honestly, this is why I struggle to work with solos and freelancers, depending on which term that you call yourself. This is why I struggle. And I don't think I've ever really talked about it, but I think that this is a great opportunity to do so. Also, shout out my new water bottle. Isn't this color beautiful? Oh my God, I'm obsessed. I struggle to work with solos because they are already stretched thin. They already don't have resources at their disposal. And 95% of the solos that I've worked with do not have either A, the funds to keep me on retainer to manage everything that I built, and or don't have the time, the skill set, the confidence to do it themselves, and 3, don't have somebody on their team to do it. And so it's not something that I'm necessarily proud of. It just is what it is, and that's why I don't really seek out working with solos anymore, is that 95% of the solos I've worked with have not maintained the things that I've built. And it's not that it didn't work. It's not that it was the wrong decisions. It's literally a matter of it has to be maintained and it has to be championed. And there's, I see this a lot with the larger teams too. This isn't just a solo issue, is that a lot of times, and actually it's so funny that I'm saying this because there's a video I'm working on. If you guys saw the other day, I broke my hard drive. It is what it is. I'm starting to edit this video over again. I'm not happy about it. It is what it is. But there's a big piece of this video that we talk about this specific issue, is that people want it built once and think that that's it. It's done. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to think about it. And that's just not reality. Not because it wasn't built right, but because tools are constantly evolving. And if you are not paying attention, or you don't have somebody in your team like a dedicated IT person or a SaaS person or a CTO, whatever you want to call them these days, right? Whatever you want to call me, I don't care. I still don't know what to call myself, but if you don't have eyes on the prize, so to speak, it is not going to work for you long term. It's going to work for you right now where we are. But if you, again, going back to data and feedback, if you are not reading the feedback you're getting and taking that and then improving further. Literally, if you take this quiz, one of the questions on the team section is how often are you literally reviewing this stuff, right? If you are not looking at it after it's put together, chances are it's not evolving with you, and then you are back at square one and shit doesn't work for you again. So that is a huge consistent pattern that I have seen with solos. And it's really hard to change minds that you have to get on board with understanding how things work. You have to be willing to roll up your sleeves, not be afraid to quote unquote break something, and really embody and embrace automations and workflows and systems. And that is also a big reason why I push to universalize things so much, because the less you have to input into it and customize it, the less it breaks. And I'm not even talking updating. I'm literally, this is a whole nother thing, right? Updating because of features, updating because you are changing your offers, totally different conversation. Literally knowing how to fix something when it breaks is very, very important. And all that to say, I will get off my high horse. That to be said, we could go through the reg. I don't know what on the reg stuff is standout. I haven't looked at these. I've had more, it is interesting. I have had more solos take this quiz than I have had teams take it, which frustrates me a little bit, because I know that this funnel, I'm going to have to really push this quiz in different ways to get the right people through this funnel. But this has been a story of my content for 5 years. And that is why email sales funnels don't work for me, because it's just a disconnect. So, let's see. That's not a good question. Oh, here's a good one. So I didn't like unlock these properties in order, but one of the last questions on the quiz for the team is, how do you manage time zones and async communication? Every single person said, we don't have a strategy for managing time zones, which is interesting. So interesting. I work with a lot of teams who have people around the world, and I always find it fascinating that they don't know how to work with teams across the world. Every single person said, we have not prioritized data security. And one person said it's not secure. So same thing. Let's see what else. Ooh, here you go. This is interesting. Okay, we're talking workflows, right? So larger creative teams, okay, think copywriting agencies, think production houses, think marketing teams, all of that. How automated are your client-facing workflows, i.e., invoicing, scheduling, project updates? Every single person said either partially automated or rarely automated, requiring manual effort. My point being, my audio is slightly panned to the left. I don't know what that means. I don't know how to fix that. Sorry. I have no idea how to fix that. Hopefully it's like not shitty audio. Let me go into the settings. Testing. Yeah, I don't know. I actually, oh wait. Oh, audio input. Yeah, that's my USB. Okay. Jay, let me know. I'm just in Restream. I don't think that I can, unless that's like a Redbox thing. Do I fix that on my Redbox? I don't know. Oh, that's going to stress me out now. Okay. Well, when Jesse gets home, I'll ask him. I'm almost done. I promise. Okay. So going back to automated, right? So many people. I've worked with over Oh, it still sounds good. Okay, cool. I have worked with over 300 clients. Do you know probably 296 of them have all said, oh, we just send a calendar link, or we just ask, or not a calendar link, we just ask for availability. We don't have calendar links. Like, what do you mean? How do you not, what? That doesn't make any sense. So that's just like case in point that like you can automate things and still have a human touch on your operations. That I think is like, if I could beat into everyone's brain that the things that don't matter should be humanized and the things that matter need to be automated, because your experience for every, I say this all the time, guys, your experience should be the same whether someone is paying you $5, $500, $5,000, $5 million. It should be the exact same. And so if you are leaning on manual effort, if you are sitting here saying, oh, well, the customer experience is so much better because of my touch point, like that's not real life, guys. That's not reality. Like, people ask me all the time, and since I built Lizzie, I talk about this a lot, but like, I always at any given time have 11 to 12 to 13 clients on my roster. I'm a solopreneur. I don't have a team. And so for me, a client should not have to wait until midnight to get an email from me onboarding them. They should not have to wait 4 days until I'm available to do that, right? And even on with onboarding, like that should be automated. Offboarding should be automated, because the second, everyone works reaction, right? And so the second that you finish a project, you are moving on to the next one, but you didn't close out the project that you're done with, right? And so by automating those things, you really can just keep the train moving without anyone knowing, without anybody understanding, hey, she's actually really busy. And, you know, and even to that point, figuring out how to automate interactions internally so externally they are not bad, right? So a great example is I now have Lizzie managing my Gmail account, because there were so many emails that I was not realizing that were important, or I was busy and couldn't get to. And like, I would see it and I would go, okay, in my mind, I need to respond to this, right? And days would go by and I would not even realize that I didn't reply to the email. And that was a consistent problem with me, especially with people who bought Systems OS when it first launched, is, you know, asking for help and asking for feedback, and me not being immediately available to support them. And so what does it look like to build a workflow that keeps people happy with spending money with you no matter how busy you are, right? So yeah, I could talk about this for days. Like, this data is so fascinating to me. Literally, the next question: how often do you gather feedback from your team and your clients? Every single person put rarely. 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 Why do you not gather feedback? Why do you not ask, how did we do? And I will tell you, I know why. Because nobody wants to be told to their face, whether it's digital or on a call or whatever, that they dropped the ball. Okay, we all know in our gut when we drop a ball. Trust me, it keeps me up at night. It eats me away when I dip below an A+ average, okay? But your processes will not improve if you are not getting feedback. And that's why automating onboarding and having that experience to give your clients to say, hey, it actually was a 3 out of 5 stars. We could do better. And this was my experience. This is how, you know, you should do better in the future. You can take it, use it, not use it, doesn't matter, but you still need to ask it. Because this is also a thing, right? When you're asking for feedback, it might just be someone's random ass opinion. Doesn't mean you have to listen to it, or it could become a consistent problem, right? And then it's like, okay, we need to nip this in the butt. All right. And let's see what else. Let's pick like one more question, because I've been on here for about an hour and I want you guys to chill out for the evening. I also have not eaten dinner yet, so probably need to do that. We're gonna do a girl dinner tonight. Oh, this is interesting. I'm reading this data for the first time, guys, by the way. I did not prepare for this live stream. So one of the questions I ask is, how do you ensure consistency in your workflows? It was split 50-50. some people said general guidelines that the team adapts, and then everyone, the other 50% said no, this is the option answer. There's no formal effort to ensure consistency, which is interesting. And that goes back to, okay, well, how happy are your clients actually? If you're saying 50% of these answers are saying that there is no consistency, or formal effort to ensure consistency, you know, we always complain. It's so stupid. I hate seeing this on the internet, especially on Twitter. People say, there's like this phrase that the $500 client, it's like, send me the stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then the $5,000 client is like invoice paid, whatever that meme is. You guys know what that meme is. I think that that's bullshit. Okay. Because if your experience is the same across the board, you're not going to have those issues. I have had $50,000 clients that were worse than a $1,500 client. And I will write that on my tombstone. I will take that with my entire chest and say that the amount they pay you does not make them a good or a bad client. What makes them a bad client is when you don't have barriers and boxes and frameworks around how you interact with people and the experience that you not only want to give, but that you want to receive. Okay. This is also the other piece that I think people forget is like, it's not just about the customer experience. It's about your experience and your team's experience and your contractor's experience. And if you are not setting those guidelines, you are going to set yourself up for failure and resentment. Okay. And I will gladly run a workshop on that. I do not care if I hurt your feelings, because people are going to be people when they are not given instruction. Okay. If you are letting people run rampant and you are allowing them to come at you sideways, so to speak, right? Give you the south paw, if you will, to make a Rocky reference. You are always going to think that those are not the right clients for you. I love my low ticket clients. I really do. I love hourly calls. I love, like, I'm working with a client right now who, it's two doctors. They founded this, for lack of a better term, it's a CPG brand, but it's like meat. It's like beef jerky, beef tallow, and it's all like very scientifically developed. It's a very cool brand. They literally made $1 million in like 9 months, like wild stuff. Very cool, right? They have me on hourly ad hoc just to be like, hey, we need help like doing these little things in Notion. Yeah, sure, they're a cheaper client, but they're cool as shit because they're like, we want to learn. We want to, be engaged. We really want to tackle this and champion it and do all these cool things. I'm not getting that from a $50,000 client. I'm not getting the insight, the teamwork, the camaraderie from those clients. No, they just want it done and they want it done well, and they don't ask questions. They don't want to be asked questions, period. And so how I do that and how I have that really good experience is going back to universal onboarding, I put everybody through the exact same expectations. You are told, I am only communicating with you on Slack. I am only accepting payments in this method. I am not bending the rules for you. You are not special. Okay? And so when you, frankly, get a backbone in your business and you realize this is the shit I'm going to take, and this is the shit I need to do so I don't have to take any shit, so to speak. You are giving consistency in your workflows. You are creating a level of experience, right? A high caliber, no matter who's coming through your door, okay? So just take that with a grain of salt, okay? Just ensure consistency, guys. Ask for feedback. What's the last question? Oh, this one doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't really care. This is more just like a curiosity question because literally, guys, listen, you will never catch me building a task database ever. I don't. Are you okay? Diesel. He's making a lot of weird noises. You okay, bud? okay? This is a problem with having senior citizen animals. They worry me when Diesel does this thing now. He's been doing it for a couple years now where he just like kind of forgets to breathe and then just like kind of like chokes in his sleep. You okay, honey? It's okay. Anyway, so last question, and then I'll let you guys go because I really need you dinner. I do not care how. Miss, did you take his bed? That's okay. Deez, come here, lay down. No, miss, you're good. Lay down. Good girl. I do not build task databases. I do not care how you track your day to day. You guys know I live and breathe by my calendar, and that makes me happy. But I do ask, one of the questions I ask is, how do you manage and track work in your team? And what I mean by that, that gives me a good frame of reference for how are you universalizing the processes to actually fulfill deliverables of projects. So a great example of that is when I'm working with a production team right now, right? And they have kind of a universal list of things that have to be done from pre-production, moving into production, moving into editing, moving into post-production, all of those things, right? On the grand scheme, yes, there are going to be other tasks that happen, right? Like checking batteries or checking memory cards, right? Those are like things that actually need to be done in order for a project to move forward. But first, I don't need to build you a task database for you to track checking my email, submitting an invoice. Like that's on you. However you want to track those daily things, I don't build that for teams. But what I do is say, how do we actually track the things that are moving the needle and that have to be done in order for projects to move forward? And so this is really interesting to know how people actually do that. And it goes back to that first question of, let me go back. There's a lot of questions. Oh my God, where did it go? Oh my God. Oh, like how does your team stay aligned on project priorities, right? Everyone was like, informal communication. We don't really have a plan. It is what it is, right? No one said that they do regular team meetings, which is interesting. So how do we automate that since you aren't regularly communicating, but yet you're resentful of your team who's quote unquote dropping the ball all the time? I worked with a client at the beginning of the year who in our strategy call literally said that. There was one person in the call in front of everyone who said, and their team is small, so everybody on the team was in the call for context, okay? One person blatantly said, nobody communicates, no one knows, and yet all of these projects are weeks and weeks behind. It's like, well, that's your problem right there, is you guys don't trust each other. So if there's no trust in the team, which is also consistent, because half of these teams that I work with got started during COVID, never met in person, don't have team culture, don't have a dynamic, all of that, right? So if that hasn't been established, how can we automate what needs to be done from the perspective of we are auto creating tasks for each deliverable, right? We are automating everything that needs to be done within a phase of a project. It's written down, it's assigned to the person, it's got the status so we can move things along, but we're not micromanaging. That's also the key here. How do we build and track projects without micromanaging every breath that somebody takes? So this question's always really interesting, even when I do strategy with people, is how do you actually track progress of projects? And every single person said individual task lists or email threads. And then a couple of people said spreadsheet or shared document, which that's fine. But I mean, using a Google Doc to track things just is not ideal either, because they get so bogged down. And like even comments, like I am not a fan like of Notion comment feature because it all gets lost. You can't, until you can turn a comment into a task or whatever, which I know you can do like in ClickUp. Yes, I know that. Don't come for me. But in Notion right now, you cannot do that. And until you can, I never recommend, this is also feedback from clients, you should never take verbal feedback and or have it in a place that is quote unquote temporary. It needs to be written, signed, sealed, hard rock stone. So, all that to say, that is the quiz I built, guys. That was a lot. And I'm really excited. I'm excited to finally have, because this is the other thing. With my workbook that I've had as my lead magnet, I don't know the problems that people are having. I don't know how to make content reaction to the pain point. Like, I don't know the pain points. Why are people downloading this workbook? I couldn't tell you. They don't, like, I don't get insight into that. No matter, and this again goes back to sales funnels, but people don't reply to my sales funnels. Like, even when I had a newsletter, you guys know this is why I don't do a newsletter, because I was never getting replies. I was never getting questions. I was never getting insight from people on it. And so with the workbook, it's like, great, awesome. Over 500 people have downloaded this thing. Couldn't tell you a single thing about them unless they have converted into a client, which I have had several people become clients after downloading the workbook. But unless they did, I know nothing about them. And so I'm excited for this quiz to be able to say, hey, let me go make some like now looking at this, I can literally plug this in to ChatGPT. I built Lizzie. So I have my business coach, which is like a totally other persona. And maybe I'll do a live stream on that next week. That's a really good idea, actually. I built Lizzie to be also to be like a ChatGPT prompt that knows the business, helps with content, all of those things. I don't utilize it as much as I should. That is my goal. Now that things have calmed down, if you guys didn't know, I produce sponsor games. I've been very busy over the last 9 months. Content has not been my forefront of my frontal lobe. And so now that I have all this free time again, I really want to go in on content. And so now I can take all of this data from, even though it's not like a big group of people, because it's been 23 people that have taken this quiz since I secretly launched it. You don't know it exists unless you're like clicking on my navigation in my site. Like, haven't talked about it, haven't really shared it in content, nothing. So out of the people who randomly found the link, filled it out, I have enough of a data set that I can now go into ChatGPT and say, hey, create content for me. Let's create some content around how custom are your processes for clients and why they shouldn't be. That's like easy freaking content, guys. So I'm really excited for that, to finally like have context and have ideas for content, because I feel like I struggle sometimes. What was the other piece of that I was going to share? Content, data. Oh, visual data maps. I would love to figure out how to, I don't know if you guys know who The Pudding is. The Pudding is this like data blog, and they put out, let me pull it up. They put out this really cool data set, like a couple, when was that? 2017 is what their blog is saying. Let me screen share so you can see this. It's basically these like data nerds that started this blog, and I am obsessed with this blog. They don't release projects often, but when they do, like, you know that they spent months and months and months on this. And I actually use this in, I'm not screen sharing. Why am I not screen sharing? Hold on. Share. Hold on. There we go. I actually used this specific project that they did in my college thesis. In my thesis that got published. Shout out. Flashback. It's Wednesday. I was gonna say Throwback Thursday. Anyway, so it's these big like data nerds that just like spend months and months on these projects, and they put together this visual map of the number of unique words used in hip hop in their first 35,000 lyrics. So like this is like a huge data set that they worked on, and you can see like Wu-Tang Clan uses almost 5,900 unique words, right? Let's see who else. Common. That's so funny. Busta Rhymes, love it. Let's see. Snoop's actually really low. Bone Thugs is very low on this list, which like breaks my heart. But the number one most used unique words is actually ASAP Rock with 7,400 words. Like, it's crazy to think about. There's also like one female rapper on this entire set, which it's fine because our girl was not really on the scene at that point. But yeah, Nicki Minaj. I mean, I guess they have Lil Kim on here. It's been a while since I've looked at this. But what was I saying? Anyway, I would love to figure out from this quiz, like taking it to the next level, how could I visualize the data very similar to this and like publish some kind of like mega project on trends and operations from this quiz. Like, I just think that'd be really cool. So anyway, yeah, I mean, like, look at this, like, look at all these, like I just love it. Yeah, they did a whole data set on reality stars apologizing. Like, I love this blog so much. Like, it'd be cool to like publish alongside of them. Like, that would be really cool. Anyway, let me check the chat now because we're getting real off topic. Jay said getting my master's in data science. I love it. Yeah, I love data. I love it so much. I also, I don't know, fun fact for you guys, I am actually Tableau certified. I never use it, and I should. I should really use it more. Where did my video go? Anyway, well, that's all I got, guys. Thanks for, oop, that's not right. Why is this being so weird? Anyway, what else? Does anybody have any questions about how I built this quiz or like anything going through your mind? I can hang out for a little bit. If you do, you can put them in the chat. If not, we can just admire how beautiful my new Bink bottle is. I think it'd be so dope to have them sponsor me. Like, since sponsor games, now we're just chit-chatting. If you have questions about this quiz, put them in the chat. I'm going to talk for 2 more minutes, and if there's no questions, I'm going to hang up. But since sponsor games, so for context, if those of you who don't know, I've been in events on the side as like a side hustle for like 10 years. I did it in my day job, and now I do stuff on the side. I have worked with Justin Moore very closely for a handful of years. We've done several projects together, and he is like one of the very few creators and business owners that I have never wavered on my respect and my just overall interest in what he teaches and who he is as a human. And I have so much respect for him and his wife. And so last year they came to me and they were like, hey, well, they didn't come to me. We were all sitting at lunch at a different conference, and they were like, hey, like, we want to plan this event. And I was like, yo, let me pitch you. Like, I want to come out of retirement of doing events, right? Because like during COVID, they didn't really happen. And my pitch got chosen, which was really great. And so for the last 9 months, all I've done every single day is think about sponsor games every single day. That's all I've done. And so why am I telling you this story? Oh, thinking about sponsorships. So since sponsor games 2 weeks ago, I've been like, man, I think I can like pitch some brands and like sponsor my content. And I've never really thought about that before. And now all I'm thinking about is like all the stuff I love in real life and like how I can like incorporate that into stuff. So like Bink and the Too Good To Go app. And anyway, Charles, what platform did you create the quiz on? Catching the tail end. Hi, hello, welcome. I built the quiz on Paperform. For those who don't know, I am the first global Paperform expert. Hi, hello. Let me screen share. And so I really love Paperform. They are one of the only form tools. This is fine, so I have to keep switching. They're one of the only form tools that does scoring to the extent that you can really get what you need and like conditional route the data. Oh shit, I am showing you guys. I'm so sorry. where you can score every question, do conditional routing on the answers of the questions you ask, do conditional routing for success pages, for custom emails, all of those good things. So built it in paper form, super easy, but all of the questions and everything I worked alongside of my custom chat GPT prompt that like knows everything about my business to help create the questions for the quiz. And there's 3 different sections to the quiz. It basically first asks you what type of team you are. So a solo, whoa, why is my screen gone? A solo, a regular team, or a enterprise. And so from there, what is going on with my screen, guys? What the hell? From there, you then get customized stuff based on what the fuck is going on. Okay, whatever. We're just going to end like this. I have no idea what is going on right now. You get customized questions based on that. I'm sorry that question took me a while to answer. But yeah, I will post the replay of this on like my actual YouTube channel, because obviously this is live, so it'll go to that like weird tab on there. But you can definitely watch the replay, and I walk through, Charles, like everything of how we talk about the questions. We go through each question, talk about how I scored it, all of those different things, and then we actually went through the data and looked at the trends so far of that. So but thank you for jumping in, even though it was at the end. Okay, I am going to hop off. I, again, don't know why my screen is acting weird. I'm going to hop off, though. Let me know what questions you guys have. I'm super grateful that you hung out with me tonight. I don't know what your kind of evening looks like, but I am going to go finally have dinner and feed the dogs and chill out for the night. And if you haven't done so and you're curious, take the quiz right here. Just scan that QR code and just take it and see where your operations health is and where you can improve. Yeah, I always have issues. Every time I decide to talk on a live stream, I got issues. So it is time to sign off, I guess. But yeah, and then next week, what did we say? Next week, we will do a live stream. What, oh my God, what did I talk about? I'm going to go back and watch this replay because I said I was going to do a live stream next week on a specific topic. So I would love to bring back these chatty build convos. I was doing them for a long time. Would love to bring them back. So if you have any topics that you want answers to, or you want to learn more about, send me a DM on any of the